Buy my book! You're not gonna get this. This is the proof copy. Apparently, people have been delivered the book already. They're already enjoying it tremendously. I, the author, have not yet received my copy. I just have this old proof copy that's ugly as shit because it has the banderole. The one that you'll get when you buy my book is going to be better looking. I'll put links in the description for it, only to the Amazon store in the US, because it'll just redirect you to your own store, or at least it should. Otherwise, just change like the .com into wherever you are. And if you buy the paperback, you will get the Kindle for free, Amazon has promised me, and apparently that has worked for some people. I'm just not sure how that works. So you may have heard of this, but the youth are rebelling again. It's always these damn teenagers making a big stink over essentially nothing. They're skipping school at one day every week, the whole day. Can you believe that? I mean, it's a protest by teenagers. What important problem could they have in their life where everything gets provided to them by their parents? I mean, come on, they're teenagers. Whatever they're protesting against, I'm sorry, what? They're protesting against climate change and the continued destruction of the environment by mega corporations and geopolitical interests for short-term financial gain. So yeah, it's basically just a bunch of teenagers who are in school right now, and they're going, listen up, you fucks. You're just destroying the world that we're supposed to inherit. You're just destroying it completely. You are annihilating our futures. And so we, in order to stop this, because we can't vote yet, are just gonna do the only thing that will get panties in a twist. We're gonna skip school. The whole thing is called School Strike for Climate, or Fridays for Future in some jurisdictions, and it was started by one Greta Thunberg. And that's all I know. And I also know she has autism. That, for some reason, is important to some people. And let me tell you, it's having the effect that they want. A lot of panties have gone from the untwisted into the twisted state. Oh, and just to make this definitively 100% clear, if you deny climate change, you are an idiot who doesn't know what they are talking about, period. Earth isn't flat. Vaccines don't cause autism, evolution is real, and climate change is very real. And it's been going pretty much the way that actual climate scientists have been telling us it would probably go for a couple decades now. No matter how much Prager blog would like to debunk news headlines written by people who are not climate scientists, this is actual scientific fact that is factual and true. But if you do want to insist on arguing the scientific specifics, may I recommend the channel of Potholder54. Basically what these kids do is that instead of going to school on Friday, they go out and protest pretty much all over the world. I mean, primarily the Western world. You're not going to have any protests in China. And frankly, I can't really blame them for it, because why learn for a future that just isn't going to come anyway, or a future that is going to be shit? There are, of course, some cunt muppets who go, well, then you really should be going to school so you can be ready for that shit future and to fix all the problems, which on one hand is you're literally saying, I'm going to continue to destroy the earth, stop making a fuss so you can fix the mess that I leave behind. And also, do you understand how protests work? Here's a pro tip if you ever want to make your own protest about something. Making as little a fuss as possible, not generally a good strategy. But that's the thing about the criticisms that many people have of Fridays for Future. They tend to follow a certain pattern. Almost always going to be some arrogant prick who gets their ass fucked by the coal lobby on the regular, or some other equivalent massively polluting organization. And they usually go, oh, look, you kids, you just don't understand how the world works. You should act like grown-ups and stop this protesting nonsense and just, talk about it in a way that fewer people will notice that you're talking about it. And really what you're doing is you're just acting like toddlers, stomping your feet, you fucking children. Maybe it's just me, but I personally find that doing something that attracts public attention in this way, even if it is something very unorthodox, aka stomping your feet like a toddler who isn't getting what they want at the point at which talking, it has been shown, doesn't really work anymore is very much an appropriate reaction to huge groups of incredibly powerful people just raping the planet and destroying the livelihood of future generations for short-term financial gain because they'll be dead anyway and won't give a shit. And talking has sort of not worked out in the way that we had hoped. We've had major political parties that have protecting the environment as their main list item in many Western countries. Be in parliament, not with 1 or 2 seats, but with a couple. But the system is so utterly corrupted that they can move the needle only by a very small amount. And I just want to point this out because it's gonna happen. The more this destruction of the environment continues, and the more we approach a point where the fallout will be more massive, the more you will have people who are most affected by it taking increasingly extreme action against those who perpetrate these kinds of things. A lot of these kids that right now are protesting at Fridays for Future, and a lot of kids who aren't doing that also, a lot of people who aren't kids right now, will eventually come to a point when that whole movement inevitably fails and falters because the financial power of the fossil fuel industry is just too massive, start getting together and damaging the property of polluters. And when that also fails, because they're probably going to get government subsidies for that shit so they can continue building their coal plants, which, by the way, is in many Western countries exactly the policy that is happening, they will eventually start killing people. They don't know it yet, they're not planning on doing it yet, but it's gonna happen. Because these people are literally fighting for their own survival and the survival of the human species. Their lives are being threatened. And I don't know if you know this, but people who feel like their lives are being threatened will sometimes get together and do very extreme things. But we're not there yet by a long shot. I would estimate it's probably at least 10 years before the first actual eco-terrorist attacks. If, that's probably the word that they're gonna use. And I gotta be honest, I can't help but have sympathy for them, even though I will be disapproving of the methods that those people, who are, by the way, just to make this clear, in no way affiliated with Fridays for Future or School Strike for Climate, they're just people where there will be overlap because that is how these things develop. Yeah, I can't feel but sort of understand why they're doing what they're doing. Will be doing. Because attacking the profits of the people who pollute is literally the only way that you're gonna stop them from polluting. They don't give a fuck about the future, and even in my generation, I'm finding a lot of people who go, well, I don't plan on having children, so we might as well just continue gang raping Mother Earth, and I then get another Xbox every year. That would be cool. When the really bad effects of climate change hit, I'm gonna be very old anyway, so what do I care? And it's do you really have such utter disregard for your fellow human beings? Are the only people worth caring about yourself and your immediate biological offspring, you borderline sociopath? But really, all arguments against Fridays for Future are arguments against protocol. Oh no, there are bad actors in a group that is millions strong. Wow, really? You have a cross-section of the population where there's several million people, and they're gonna be some disingenuous individuals among them who have different agendas? What an incredible revelation that would only happen in this particular case. Oh, I agree with them, but they should be going about this in a different manner. Why didn't you start the fucking protests in a different manner then, instead of just sitting on your fat ass, you piece of shit? Oh look, there's a soundbite, a news clip of a kid saying something that wasn't 100% scientifically accurate on account of that child not being a trained climate scientist. Therefore, the entirety of the movement and every single thing that they stand for is discredited. Funny how you also are not a trained climate scientist, yet you seem to have a very strong opinion on climate change. There was some weird shit going on with this particular protest and the way that was organized. Once again, if you have a movement of this size, shit like that is just going to happen. It's called the law of big numbers. at least they're not literally murdering unborn generations. Which, just as an aside, shouldn't there be like a huge overlap between like pro-lifers and like people who fight against climate change, like climate activists? Or is just the glee of an impending apocalypse more powerful than the actual caring for unborn generations? My favorite one by far, though, is, a lot of these kids are just there because they can skip school. And it's like, yeah, they're kids, you fucking imbecile. What did you think they were going to do with an opportunity like that? I've yet to see anyone making an actual argument against the core point of the movement, which is climate change is real, it's gonna fuck shit up, and maybe we should actually like do something big time about it because we are going to be the primary people who will get fucked by it. I mean, I've seen some people argue against that because, you know, there's people who argue against the Holocaust having happened. It's just there are some people where there's no amount of proof and evidence that will take them off believing whatever they would prefer to believe. But those people just don't count in an actual conversation. Because that would be arguing against verifiable scientific fact that is factual and true and the future, and we know this because of science, and people have gotten around to understanding that. The only thing I've seen that even approaches being a solid argument against the Fridays for Future movement is the argument that the demands that this movement has are like way too lofty. To which I say, maybe, but we're past the point of being reasonable. This is an impending crisis, you dig? These kids aren't demanding some like simple minor changes that are just lip service and everything will basically stay the same. They are demanding the changes that are necessary so we don't fucking die. I don't know if you've heard of him, but there's like an elite ultra super businessman that operates worldwide by the name of Donald John Ketchup on a well-done steak Trump, and he, in his masterpiece of literature, The Art of the Deal, posits that if you're gonna go into a negotiation, you should come up with demands that are way higher than what you actually expect to be getting. This idea is, of course, something that only the genius of the person with the highest IQ to ever exist could have sparked, and not something that any successful negotiator and or political movement has been using since the dawn of fucking civilization. But you shouldn't be surprised that these kids take the advice of such a bona fide genius to achieve their goals now, should you? So in conclusion, if you really want, for the sake of these children, that they go back to school, there's one simple thing that I really recommend that you do, and that is join their cause. That's the only way you're gonna convince them that you are not selling their future so you can have another 20 years of diet Doritos and full-fat Monster Energy while watching cheap Netflix shows on the back of your pickup truck. Fucking hell. Thank you very much for watching this video. The script isn't as angry as I actually got recording this, because this shit just pisses me off to such an extent. Like, comment, subscribe, Greta gang, yo. Share this to your relevant communities, but do not spam them, please. Don't do that. Consider buying some of my merch or my book that is here, this book without the banderole, or maybe supporting me on Patreon or Subscribestar, but chill. And in that spirit, do something against climate change, and do something against climate change, and do something against climate change, and I appreciate you all, and see you around, cunts.